Coming up on OU Nightly, I'll talk more about the rain we've seen across portions of the state and how long it'll stick around.
A pause to preserve lives, the latest in the Israel-Hamas war ahead. Plus, some of your favorite TV shows and movies could soon return to the screen as the actors' strike nears an end. This is OU Nightly. Thanks for watching OU Nightly. I'm Ireland Fitzer.
And I'm Morgan Martin. We begin tonight with a big change in weather.
We are talking a 30-degree drop in temperatures.
Let's get right over to OU Nightly meteorologist Braden Co. Braden, how long can we expect this gloomy weather to last?
Well, ladies, fortunately for us in Norman, it appears that our rain has moved out, but our friends farther to the east across eastern Oklahoma are still dealing with some pretty beneficial rainfall here in McAllister, Muskogee, all of these areas seeing this rainfall. But let's take a look at how conditions are outside right now. Carlin McCreary joins us live from the South Oval. Carlin, how's it looking out there?
Thanks, Braden. If you've walked outside at any point today, I'm sure you've noticed how much cooler it feels outside. Temperatures today have been in the low 50s, definitely something that we haven't seen over the past few days this week so far, and they're only going to start to dip down even more into the upper 40s overnight tonight. But something that is definitely contributing to all of the cold weather is the wind speeds. We've been seeing wind speeds here across Oklahoma in the teen digits. Here in Norman, 14 miles per hour, up in Oklahoma City, 16 miles per hour. So that's definitely something that's making it feel a lot cooler outside if you head out the door. If you have any evening plans tonight, be sure to grab a jacket on your way out the door. Braden?
Yeah, and also these winds are helping it to feel a lot cooler. Combine that with temperatures in the 50s, and it is pretty chilly out there. And coming up later in the show, I'll talk more about the rain moving out, plus your game day forecast, and a mild week coming up next week. Ladies, back over to you.
Thank you, Braden. We now take you to the latest in the Israel-Hamas war. We have OU Nightly reporter Noah Mack in the newsroom with the latest. Noah?
Yeah, thank you, Morgan. A pause of peace in the Middle East today as Israel agrees to a 4-hour daily pause on its assault on Hamas. This comes after a request from President Joe Biden for a multi-day pause of fighting in exchange for the release of Hamas-held hostages. However, Israel says it will not agree to a full ceasefire. The U.S. National Security Council says these shorter pauses could be useful in getting all 239 hostages home, including the estimated 10 Americans still being held by Hamas. In addition to the 4-hour pause, Israel is opening a second gateway for civilians in Gaza to flee. Also today, the president of the Palestinian National Initiative spoke out, saying any government in the world who does not support an immediate ceasefire becomes a supporter of war crimes. The Gaza Health Ministry says the death toll in Gaza has reached at least 10,000. Morgan, Ireland.
Thank you, Noah. And Oklahoma City police are investigating a deadly shooting involving a police officer. The incident happening near Northeast 12th and Lottie, when police say they were called out to a domestic disturbance at the McGuire Senior Living Center just east of OU Health. Officers say a man started waving a gun around, then ran inside the senior center, police saying the man then aimed at officers, one of which responded with gunfire. Oklahoma City police say the man died at the scene. His name has not yet been released. Police also say the officer involved has been placed on administrative leave.
An Oklahoma City mother is facing child neglect charges after police say she tried throwing her children into oncoming traffic. Police also found the family's home filled with feces and maggots. Court documents reveal the house had no running water or food. Police say the children are currently in DHS custody.
An Oklahoma couple has been charged in connection with the murder of a Chickasha woman and her unborn child. Kenneth Johnson is facing charges of first-degree murder. His wife, Katrina Johnson, is charged with accessory to murder in the death of Ashley Cannon and her child, Nala. Cannon was found dead in her apartment in November of 2020 after her 2 children reported the death to a neighbor. Court documents allege Kenneth as the father of Cannon's unborn child. Kenneth is now facing the death penalty.
An Oklahoman testifying in Congress this week discussing water quality for rural communities. From our Washington Bureau, Kevin Palomino has how conversations with lawmakers went.
In a 2-hour congressional hearing where OU-Texas rivalry made an appearance,
our kids are born doing this.
another debate seemed to emerge, the states and the federal government. Oklahoma's Water Quality Division Director Shelly Chard testified in an Environmental Public Works Committee hearing to recommend increased funding for water infrastructure in rural areas.
If they don't have sustainable rate structures, they don't have the rate base, they don't have as many customers as larger cities, all of those can factor into needing additional funding for that infrastructure.
But for Oklahoma Senator Markwayne Mullin, increased funding does not mean increased federal oversight. He says that should be left up to the states.
Because of so much of the federal funding has so many strings attached, and there's so many hoops that you have to jump through. A lot of these small towns, they just don't have the ability to do it.
Chard says all levels of government need to work together on this bill, and despite a tense political climate in Congress, she says clean water is a clear unifier.
Everybody can agree we have to have water. We expect in this country, when we turn on the water faucet, that we are going to have safe drinking water.
The Biden administration proposed a $12 billion budget for the Environmental Protection Agency earlier this year, but it was slashed in half when House Republicans passed their version of the legislation last week.
The bill is passed.
Clearly, in a divided Washington, there is no clean path to clean water. Reporting for Gaylord News from Washington, D.C., I'm Kevin Palomino.
And the shadow of a government shutdown still looms over the Capitol, the deadline quickly approaching, set for November 17th.
And in a statement sent to OU Nightly, one of Oklahoma's leading film studios, Prairie Serve, is celebrating the tentative deal reached between the Actors Union and Film and TV Studios. CEO Rachel Cannon saying, "We're so excited to welcome our friends back to our sound stages at Prairie Serve once SAG is approved by our membership." Prairie Serve has been involved in projects such as Paramount's Tulsa King, as well as Martin Scorsese's latest blockbuster hit, Killers of the Flower Moon, while ongoing projects such as the sequel to the 1996 classic Twister, filmed here in the Sooner State, as well at Prairie Studio, are still hoping to meet their 2024 release date. Emery Johnson is following the actors' strike and the working agreement between the union and Hollywood studios. She tells us what comes next in closing the deal and more national headlines from the News Center.
The tentative deal between the Actors Union, SAG-AFTRA, and some major Hollywood studios still needs to be approved by the union board members. The agreement would be a 3-year contract, including raising minimum wage and providing protection against the use of artificial intelligence and digital imagery without consent. The union's board is expecting to vote on this tomorrow afternoon. The Vatican is adjusting its baptism policies to be more inclusive to the LGBTQ+ community. The new ruling allows for members of the LGBTQ+ community, as well as babies of same-sex couples. The church doctrine says transgender people can be baptized as long as there is no risk of causing scandal or disorientation to other Catholics. A Tennessee college student hit in the head by a stray bullet is dead. Police say 29-year-old Shaquille Taylor admitted to firing the shot that hit 18-year-old Julian Ludwig in the head on Tuesday. Hundreds of people gathered at Belmont University last night to pray over her as she remained in critical condition. Ludwig passed away later that evening. And Florida's Board of Education passes a new ruling requiring students and staff to use the restroom that corresponds with the sex on their birth certificate. Oklahoma lawmakers passed a similar bill last year. Morgan, Ireland, back to you.
Thanks, Emery. And coming up on OU Nightly, a pet food recall is expanding.
The brands you need to know about to keep your pet healthy.
And the first ever transplant of its kind.
Why the procedure is being called a breakthrough in medicine when we come back.
Say they are seeing more children with strep throat as the shortage of antibiotics continues. Becky Yanas has that and more in today's Health Beat.
That's right. Doctors across the nation are seeing a spike in strep throat as antibiotics become harder to find. The FDA says it has seen a shortage in the powder form of amoxicillin, a common treatment for the infection, since October of last year. Data shows strep cases started increasing in August, mostly in children. Officials say capsules and tablet forms of amoxicillin are not short in supply, but they're also not suitable for some children. And Mid-America Pet Food is expanding a recall of its dog and cat food. Impacted brands include Victor Super Premium Dog Foods, Wayne Feeds Dog Food, Eagle Mountain Pet Food, and some Members Mark varieties with a best by date of October 31st of next year. Officials say the food may contain salmonella. So far, there has been at least 7 reports of salmonella infections. And doctors are calling it a medical breakthrough. Aaron James received the world's first full eye transplant following an electrical accident that resulted in him losing his left arm and part of his face, including his eye. While James has still not regained sight in his left eye, doctors say there is blood flow to his retina and that they are impressed with his recovery. And the CDC is expanding surveillance at 4 major U.S. airports due to the rise in flu cases and in preparation for the holidays. Ireland, Morgan.
Thank you, Becca. When we come back, what medical experts recommend to stay healthy ahead of the holiday season.
And where you can find resources after this.
And we've seen some rain and cooler temperatures across the state. I'll let you know how long these conditions will last coming up on OU Nightly. Welcome back to OU Nightly. Here's a live look over the South Oval across our beautiful campus, and you can see it's a pretty cloudy, gloomy day out there. Temperatures are on the cooler side as well. This cloud cover and some of the rain we saw earlier helping to keep temperatures in the 50s. And also with this wind, it is helping to create a cooler feel in the air. The wind chill right now is sitting at 54, so it pretty much matches the temperature, but sometimes with these bigger gusts, you can feel a little bit cooler. And across the state, temperatures are currently in the 50s statewide, some lower 50s sitting right around 50 farther down south towards the Red River Valley. And taking the bigger picture out here across the southern plains, you can see much of us are in the 50s from Kansas all the way to Arkansas down into northern Texas. But where the front hasn't moved through yet, we're still in the 70s in places like Shreveport. Now looking at the forecast for our temperatures over the next several days, you can see cooler air lingers for the time being, but as we head into the late weekend and the early next week, these more mild temperatures return to the forecast. And currently across the state, we're seeing a drop in the dew points. This means the moisture is starting to move out of the state. And you can see the moisture is confined to the eastern part of the state where we still have some rain lingering over there. And Futurecast shows that pushing out of the state as we move into the overnight hours. And then a disturbance pushes into western Oklahoma tomorrow before it moves out by Saturday, and you can see the lingering cloud cover pushes out of the state by Saturday night. And future rainfall totals show that pretty much along and to the southeast of I-44 has the best chance of seeing any additional rainfall. And looking at the lows tonight, you can see that temperatures are expected to dip down to right around 40 here in central Oklahoma, with 20s starting to push into the northwest part of the state. And then tomorrow, our highs start to warm back up into the 60s pretty much statewide. Places like Tulsa, Muskogee getting into those mid 60s, while we'll be in the lower 60s here in the metro. And for your game day on Saturday, we're expecting temperatures in the upper 50s for tailgate, but these will start to quickly drop off as we start game time by kickoff, getting down into those upper 40s, staying that way as we head through the rest of the game. And your 7-day forecast shows these cooler temperatures expected Saturday, high around 57 for your Veterans Day. And then by Sunday and Monday of next week, temperatures will start to warm back into the mid 60s, and it will remain that way as we head through the middle and end of next week.
And I know we have an evening game for OU football this weekend, so for our Sooner fans, would it be wise to bring a coat?
Absolutely. Especially with the 40s, it's going to be a pretty chilly game out there.
But after this weekend and going into next week, we should be getting back into our regular fall temperatures,
temperatures
correct?
next week will be right around average in the mid 60s, so definitely be the perfect fall weather next week.
Perfect. Thank you so much, Braden. And Thanksgiving is approaching, and as people travel to see family, many come back sick after the holidays. Attending large gatherings increases your risk of exposure to viruses, so before you make Thanksgiving travels, medical experts say it's important to protect yourself from common illnesses.
It's important for you to get your vaccines so you can protect yourself and you can protect others. So if that means going home for the holidays and you're around babies, immunocompromised, or elderly family members, you'll be protecting them as well as yourself.
Through Goddard Health Center, local pharmacies, or the Cleveland County Health Department.
And OU women's basketball hits the road for a future SEC matchup.
OU Nightly Stone Weber has the details. Stone.
Sooner football returns home for a primetime game on Saturday. Hear how senior leaders are preparing for a strong finish to the season. Sports is next. Hello, I'm Stone Weber, and it's time for sports. After back-to-back losses by a combined 8 points, 17th ranked OU football looks to bounce back under the lights this weekend against West Virginia. Although the Sooners' playoff hopes were likely squandered in Stillwater last weekend, Drake Stoops says Dylan Gabriel knows their team has a lot left to play for.
Saturday, he definitely took it hard, and then Sunday, I'm sure he's still feeling it. I talked to him a little bit, but then like I said, we got to flush it on Monday, and he's back to being himself and being the leader we need him to be, because guys, at the end of the day, they're going to look to him, they're going to look to me, they're going to look at older guys and see how we're responding. And if we're just throwing in the towel, throwing it all away, then that's what they're going to do. But if we're saying, hey, we still got a lot left to fight for, a lot left to play for, this is how we're going to approach it, then they're just going to follow in our footsteps. And so it's important to set that example.
Porter Moser has now picked up 2 wins this week as last night 2024 guard Dayton Forsyth officially signed with the Sooners. The 6'2 guard from Dale High School in McLeod, Oklahoma is the #1 ranked player in the state of Oklahoma in 2024. Switching to the other side of the court, OU women's basketball is gearing up for an early season test. The 1-0 Sooners travel to Oxford, Mississippi to take on the 12th ranked Ole Miss Rebels tonight at 6 p.m. Back here in Norman, OU softball finished their fall battle series tonight at Marita Hines Field, and you won't have to wait long for the season to start, as today the Sooners announced their 2024 season schedule. OU hosts Iowa State starting on March 7th, and their final Big 12 series is a bedlam matchup against Oklahoma State in Norman. Going to the other diamond, the SEC announced today every school's 2 permanent conference opponents. In the case of OU baseball, the Sooners will see the Missouri Tigers and Texas Longhorns each year beginning in 2025. OU volleyball returned to McCaslin Fieldhouse for 2 matches. The Sooners host 22nd ranked Houston in search of their 4th home win this season. The match starts at 6 p.m. tonight and tomorrow. OU wrestling begins their season tonight up north as they take on the Central Michigan Chippewas. Wrestlers are always trying to watch their weight, and on Sooner Sports Pad, we found out what they do when they're not.
Me? I'm getting some Oreos, I'm crushing them up and putting them in the bottom of a nice bowl of vanilla bean ice cream, and I'm just getting after that.
I'll get some Canes every once in a while. It'll be my cheat meal after competition, but after every time we compete, he gets a big old bowl of ice cream and puts a bunch of cookies in. Not every time, right?
The 4-3 Oklahoma City Thunder were looking for the sweet season sweep over the Cleveland Cavaliers last night at the Paycom Center. Once again, Shai Gilgeous-Alexander stole the show, putting up 43 points, 7 rebounds, and 6 assists in a 128-120 Thunder win. Morgan, Ireland, back to you.
Thank you, Stone. When OU Nightly returns, an Oklahoma veteran and father of one country music star is helping those in need.
Find out what he is doing to impact nonprofits in the Sooner State after the break.
I'm Colson Pocock at the OU Nightly Update Desk. Oklahoma City police identify a suspect involved in a hit and run thanks to a tip through Crime Stoppers. Police say the suspect, whose name has not yet been released, hit a person walking Monday night near I-240 and South May Avenue before leaving the scene. Officers say the victim was taken to a hospital with a traumatic brain injury and is not expected to survive. Ireland, Morgan, back to you in the studio.
Thank you, Colson. The father of Oklahoma native and country music star Zach Bryan is walking to make a difference.
Dwayne Bryan is an Oklahoma veteran, and this is his 3rd year walking to raise money for 2 Bartlesville nonprofits.
Bryan started his walk today in Claremore and will end on Veterans Day in Copen, tracking over 60 miles along the way.
The money raised by Bryan will go to Hopestone Cancer Support Center and Paths to Independence.
I know this morning they got a very early start, so I'm sure they were feeling those colder temperatures and some of that rain today as they've made their trek.
OU Nightly meteorologist Braden Seo joins us live in the studio. Braden, what's the rest of the evening going to look like?
Well, ladies, fortunately for us here in Norman, it looks like the rain has pushed out for now. Much of the rain is now limited to portions of eastern Oklahoma, places like McAllister, Muskogee, still getting in on some of that rain. And as we look at your temperatures for the next several hours, you can see by tomorrow morning, we'll be right around 40 degrees, and then that will rise into the 60s by tomorrow afternoon before dipping down once again into the 50s by tomorrow evening. And looking at your next 7 days, you can see tomorrow we're expected to top out right around 60 degrees. 50s for your Veterans Day and your game day on Saturday, with 60s expected to return as we head into the end of the weekend and the beginning of next week.
Thanks, Braden, and thank you for watching OU Nightly. I'm Marilyn Fitzer.
And I'm Morgan Martin. Be sure to watch OU Nightly weekdays live at 4:30. Good night.